fear, self-doubt, perfectionism, and how to build your own six-figure business anyway. Those three words, fear, self-doubt, and perfectionism, are the things that I see women most getting stuck and held back by as they seek to build the business and the life of their dreams. And guess what? I can totally relate because I was there for years. But you don't have to stay stuck like I did, and that is what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about how you can move forward anyway and build your very own six-figure business like I have done twice. So, if we haven't met, my name's Christine McAllister. I am the Huffington Post featured founder of Life with Passion, where I help women start and grow online businesses so that they can quit and or stay out of their 9-to-5 jobs for good. I'd love it if you said hi and shared where you're watching from in the comments. What I want you to know is that I'm going to be sharing a ton of tricks, a ton of tips, and I want this to be interactive. So if you're watching live or on the replay, I want your insights, I want your questions. Drop them in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer them now or come back and answer them and address them later. Because here is the thing. This topic is way too important not to discuss. It's way too important not to pay attention to. This is the thing that potentially could make the difference in whether you hit your goals or not, right? So is fear or self-doubt and or perfectionism, are those things holding you back? If so, which one or two or three of these things are you dealing with? Let me know in the comments. Meryl says, hi. Hi, Lucy, watching from the UK. I love it. Kalila, so glad you were able to catch me live too, watching from the Caymans. Meryl's in Atlanta. Deneen, I think I'm saying that right, Deneen, is in Wyoming. Hello, Wyoming. And I am in Kentucky, coming to you to talk about fear, self-doubt, and perfectionism. And which one of these are you dealing with right now in your business? How is that showing up for you? I know we've been talking in my community about how that's showing up, like in a fear of failure, in a fear of what other people are going to think, in a fear of, not having enough money, in a fear of not being practical, not being able to pay bills. Whatever the case is, fear shows up in so many different ways, and we also have some really nice names for it, but when we dig down underneath the surface, it's always fear. It comes back to fear. Procrastination is about fear. Perfectionism is about fear. Self-doubt is about fear, right? So we have all these, I'm plugging in my phone, one moment. We have all these different reasons why we can't or shouldn't or couldn't have the thing that we want, but there's a reason we're not executing. Whoa! There's a reason we are not following through. There's a reason we are not doing the thing that we know we need to do, whether it's build a really simple website, or whether it's send an email, or whether it's put a post or do a Facebook Live, or whatever it is. It's not about the thing. It's about how we feel about the thing, and the thing that we feel is fear. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Let me know. I want to make sure this is super useful for you guys. So what I want you to know is that this is coming up everywhere right now. If you're watching this live, it was just Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Small Business Saturday in the US, and I have been talking to so many people who are feeling totally overwhelmed and afraid and doubting themselves because of their experience, watching all these people put out their offers and feeling oh my gosh, I'm farther behind. Why am I not selling stuff? There's something wrong with me. Yeah, totally, Heather, FOMO, right? So we are dealing with all this overwhelm in our head and a fear that we're not doing stuff right because our business doesn't look like XYZ, or because, if it did, then we wouldn't be afraid if it was at this milestone, but we are because it's not, whatever. What I want you to know is that regardless of these things and which ones you are dealing with right now, they don't have to stop you. They do not have to stop you. And that's the beautiful thing about this. They do not have to stop you, because I'm here to tell you I have dealt with and do deal with all of these things as a high achiever. I think all of us do as high achievers. And I still have a 6-figure business, and I've done that twice, right? And I've been on this journey. And so I want you to know that no matter where you are today, these things do not have to stop you. I want you to keep showing up for your dreams. And we're going to talk about these specific ways that you can do that to bust through these things right now. Lucy said she's dealing with all of them, as you know, so I'm making pancakes right now. That sounds delicious, Lucy. Pancakes. Hi, Laura in Colorado. Hi, Anita in Massachusetts. Hi, Caitlin. Good morning, Sophia. Okay. So Deneen says, I did not know procrastination was fear. Yeah, so procrastination it comes from unresolved emotions. And usually when you get down to it, those unresolved emotions are fear. Usually overwhelm is about fear too. Like, I don't know where to get started, or like, I'm not good enough. I'm too busy. I don't have enough time. I don't have the clarity. I don't have a clear plan. Whatever it is, it comes back to fear, which honestly, you all, like, fear is part of what makes us human, right? Back in the day, fear is what kept us alive, because it's what like warned us if there was a predator nearby. We'd have that sixth sense that, you know, of danger. But the thing about our brains is that, like, as amazing as they are, that part of our brain, that fear part of our brain, hasn't caught up with the fact that we live the way that we live now, where most of us are not in that kind of mortal danger all of the time, right? In our current society where we live, if you're watching this with, with internet and with a smartphone or with a laptop or tablet or whatever, like, that's not our reality, but our brains haven't quite caught up to that. And so a lot of times we feel the fear, the self-doubt, as strongly as if we were going to die. And so we respond by going, I'm not going to do that thing because I feel like I'm going to die if I do a Facebook Live. I feel like I'm going to die if I send a newsletter and it has a typo in it. I feel like I'm going to die if I get visible. Like, that's a real thing. Our brains are responding, trying to keep us safe. But what I want you to know is you can change the way your brain responds. You can change the way your brain responds and tell it that fear is no longer in control. Because there's this great quote from George Adair that says, everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of fear. So you can be scared, or you can have everything you want. You can be scared, or, you can be free, right? But like, it's all about getting conscious of what is going on first, getting aware of that, noticing that so that you can change. And I'm guessing if you're watching this, you've already noticed that you've got fear, self-doubt, and or perfectionism going on. Am I right? So yeah, Deneen, let me know if that makes sense about procrastination coming from unresolved emotions overwhelming us. And so we avoid it because it doesn't feel good. And usually it's fear. We're scared of it not being perfect. We're scared of it not being right. We're scared of not knowing how to do something, whether it's software or Facebook Live or like selling. A lot of times people feel scared, like, because they don't know how to sell. Whatever the case, procrastination usually is from fear. Okay? Yeah, Meryl says she fears of debt and losing control coupled with self-doubt. Thanks for sharing that, Meryl. Heather asks, do you just ignore the feeling and just keep telling yourself you can do it and just keep going? You know what's so funny is the next thing on my notes here is literally keep showing up. So obviously that's for you, Heather. Keep showing up. Because it doesn't mean that you're never going to be scared again. It doesn't mean that you have to not be afraid before you do something. What it does mean is that you get to make a decision that this is what you want, and it's possible for you, and you're going to figure it out along the way. A lot of times what I see with women is that, like, they hold themselves back because they don't know exactly how the next 5 years are going to go yet. Does that feel true for you? Let me know. Tell me in the comments. If I don't know exactly how the next 5 years are going to go, then I'm not going to do the thing, right? If I don't have a business plan that includes years 1 through 5, I'm not going to move toward the smallest step today because I don't know the hows. I think we're lulled into this like feeling that in a job, in a 9-to-5 or whatever, that like we know how our career is going to go because like that's how it normally goes. But if you look at layoffs and you look at all of these things, you look at, the way things actually go in our world today, it's not actually true But we still have this perception that like being an employee is safer, getting a, that because that means a steady paycheck and that means benefits and that means all of these different things. But who are you going to bet on? The person who doesn't know you, who's way, 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 way above you and like sees you as a number and is responsible to shareholders or whatever, or yourself? And investing in yourself, showing up for yourself and your dreams and the passions that God gave you to follow through on, that maybe you have those for a reason, that maybe you can make money using those. So I actually believe that being an entrepreneur is a much safer bet than being an employee, because I've trained my brain to look for and recognize, listen, if I need to go, like, if I want to go make money over here, I can go make money over here. If I want to go make money over here, I can go make money over here. This is what I love doing. This is what I also make money with. Yes, it's possible for me, and I know exactly how to do it, and that's what I help other women do. Because I can control what I can control, which is how I show up, right? Which is that I can train my brain to move past fear. There's a way in which when we feel afraid, we tell ourselves, oh, it's not possible for me because I'm scared. Or it's not possible for me because insert ridiculous reason here. It's not possible for me because I don't have blonde hair. It's not possible for me because I don't have big boobs and blonde hair. You know what? There have been times when I thought that in my business building journey. I'm just going to call myself out right now, right? I don't have the perfect, like, the figure that I think is perfect, right? I'm just saying, maybe that'll normalize some fears for you. It's not possible for me because I'm single. It's not possible for me because I'm married. It's not possible for me because I have a baby. It's not possible for me because I live in a town where people don't want to pay a lot of money. I live in a small town. I live in a town that's too big. I don't know enough people. It's not possible for me because I'm too old. It's not possible for me because I'm too young. It's not possible for me because I'm, how old am I now? 36, and I have this many gray hairs. It's not possible for me for whatever ridiculous reason I tell myself, right? It's not possible for me because blah, 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 blah. Yeah, Heather says you can buy some. Oh, I know, Heather. Oh, I know. I could buy some blonde hair too, right? But I'm afraid it would fall out because mine's pretty dark. But the thing is, we all have these reasons that we tell ourselves it's not possible, right? It's not possible because, oh, I wouldn't have benefits. It's not possible. You can buy those too, right? It's not possible for me because I don't know enough yet. You can learn. Like, I share those stories because most of them are as ridiculous as me saying it's not possible because I don't have blonde hair and big boobs. I just want to call that out right now, okay? But when we tell ourselves it's not possible because XYZ, then our brain that's listening to us all the time goes, oh, okay, it's not possible. Like, Christine says it's not possible, so let's go looking for reasons that it's not possible. Okay? That is what happens. That is what happens in our brains. So then our brain is like, remember, it's not possible. It's not possible, Christine. Like, it's not possible. That girl has success because she's blonde. That girl has success because she started earlier. That girl has success because she's older. That girl has success because she was featured there. That girl has success because she has family money. That girl has success because she doesn't have horses. Whatever, right? This is what our brains do when we say it's not possible, which comes from a place of fear and, of course, of self-protection. But, yeah, Heather says when she started to do live training, she was so scared she kept doing it. And now I feel like it's such a natural process. Right. My first live stream was a total disaster, right? But like, I kept showing up for it. My first webinar masterclass, only my mom came. Whatever. I kept showing up for it, right? Caitlin says, bet on yourself and be responsible for what happens to you and for you. Yeah, right? You are responsible for your own actions. As Jensen Chiro says, you're not responsible for whether other people freak out about it or not. But like, be responsible for what you're responsible for. Do not be a victim. Be a volunteer. Because the truth is, like, and I don't say this to shame anyone, but the truth is, because I spent a lot of years feeling stuck and feeling like I was, couldn't go anywhere because XYZ reasons. And, again, if I had these other things that people had, then I would be able to be successful, but I couldn't because, right? So I had all these reasons and I had all these excuses that left me feeling trapped and stuck, depressed, anxious, not a good place to be, right? But when I began taking my own action, taking responsibility for my life, which came in the biggest way, of course, like, yes, I had already quit my job. Yes, I had already built this successful business. But of course, when I lost Maeve, then I was like, oh, I get it. Like, I'm responsible for my life. I am responsible for how I show up. I am responsible for my legacy, her legacy, all of these things. Now I'm going to figure out how to do it, hell or high water, right? Because I've already been through the hell. So bring it on, right? So listen, what questions do you have for me about your fear, about your self-doubt, about your perfectionism? Because I want to make sure this is super, super useful for you. And I've shared a little bit of my journey so that you know, no matter how crazy your thoughts are, you can still be successful. You can still be successful, right? So here's some quotes for you, right? Like, let your faith be bigger than your fear, right? But how does that actually play out? It plays out, number one, and yes, as Heather said, showing up every day. Yes, you can recognize the fear, but there comes a point at which you can either be scared or take action, right? You can either be scared or you can be scared and take action, but you can either let that continue to be your story for the rest of your life. I'm not sure I'm good enough. If it's not perfect, it's not worth putting out there, you know, or you can be the person gaining traction and making money in your business while you figure that stuff out. I know I always say to my clients, I want you to be making money while you're improving yourself. I want you to be making money while you're figuring this stuff out, right? It doesn't have to be wait until you have the perfect package, you know, that you've pre-validated for so long that now it's not even relevant anymore, right? That happens too. I want you to be taking action because action answers the fear, and action also builds your confidence. Action also builds your confidence and tamps down that self-doubt. Okay, so I want to tell you another story. I want to tell you a story about the first time I heard about an iPhone. I have a friend, my friend Peter. My friend Peter was like building websites before there were websites, okay? He's like a big deal at an ad agency now, one of the largest in the state. He's worked on like Super Bowl commercials. I mean, he's always been a genius. I've known him since high school. This is his gift. Like, he's awesome and amazing. And he's Fee's godfather, actually. Like, not in the like movie way, but like in an actual way. So Peter, not in the way, but in the, you get it, in the actual way. So Peter's amazing. I think the world of him. Peter and I went to university together, and Peter, who was like an Apple genius before there were even Apple geniuses, like literally, one day said, have you guys heard that they're thinking about taking an iPod, which of course everyone had when I was in school, and making it into a phone that's also going to be an iPod. And do you know what I said? That is ridiculous. Who would want that? That is what I said. And of course, how many of us have iPhones now, right? I've had multiple iPhones, but that is what I said. My point is, I'm a later adopter to technology. And what if Steve Jobs had waited until everyone thought, oh my gosh, it's a great idea, I have the vision, before he put it out there? What if he had waited until people like me, who are later to approach things, later on the S-curve and the diffusion of innovations, if you know what that means, if you don't, doesn't matter, to say, oh yeah, now it's my time to make a phone that's also an iPod, right? What if that had happened? He'd still have to launch it. He'd still be so far behind if he'd pre-validated instead of going, this is my vision, this is my passion, this is what I'm making. Now, none of us are as innovative as Steve Jobs. And that's actually a great thing, because none of us are doing something that avant-garde, right? None of us are doing something where people are looking around and going, oh my gosh, I can't even picture that. We're all doing things in markets that have been proven. We all have other people doing something similar to us, which is actually awesome, because it's proven that there's a market for it. It's proven that there are people who will pay for it, right? We're not like doing string theory 5.0 physics type of stuff. So, like, we're not talking about brand new things here. We're talking about proven businesses, and we're talking about holding ourselves back, and that being the reason that you're not as successful as you want to be, because you're not putting the support in place to move yourself forward despite that fear, despite that self-doubt, as opposed to inventing something pie in the sky. Does that make sense? So, Meryl says, my tape says you are inspired and I'm not. Well, Meryl, you know what? I started showing up like this. Oh my gosh, I just noticed the end of my hair. Let's scoot forward a little bit. Look at that. It's like matted. I just started showing up like this maybe 2 years ago. Like, I was inspired by someone else I saw out there who I felt like was being her real authentic self. Before that, I felt like I had to be like this. Like, oh, what do you guys want to learn? Okay. Like, I felt like I had to be professional, and like that professional looked like being calm, cool, and composed. Guess what? I was a theater person. I love being dramatic. I love voices. I love bursting into song randomly. That's who I am, right? This is exactly how I am with my clients on the phone, right? Jumping around the room because I'm usually on my phone and not tethered to, a screen right here. But like, this is who I am. This is why I show up as inspired, because I'm being my authentic self. And so are you being your authentic self? That would be my question for you. So Heather says, the fear of money keeps coming up for me. Yeah, that's a big one, Heather. I have a hard time seeing how the money will come. Right, so like, I think, again, it's that how. And that doesn't mean that we're not strategic in our business. It doesn't mean that we're just like sitting around going, oh yeah, I'm going to make a ton of money and not taking any action, and like going that it's going to, like, oh yeah, it'll just happen magically. No, we're all doers here. But usually we're holding ourselves back out of some fear. Like, I don't want to try and then fail, or I don't want to be criticized. I know that's one that came up when I was asking questions about like what your fears were, what your self-doubts were, where your perfectionism showed up. I don't want to be criticized. I don't want people to say things to me that would crush me, because I know a lot of us, myself included, are highly sensitive, pick up on other people's emotions, and that means we carry a lot more emotions than are just our own, right? Because we're just always like, we're like sponges. So like that fear of money, right? So I think that's a really good place to notice. And also, like, how are you showing up to start telling yourself a different story? Or are you just focusing on the fear of not having enough money, right? Because what we focus on expands. So the point of this live stream is not to go, I really want to help you identify your fear and sit in it. The point of this is to help you figure out exactly what steps you can take right now to move past that fear. And that can look a lot of different ways. So I want to know first, are you consciously working on your mindset to clear that fear and to go, I'm going to keep showing up anyway, right? It's always both. It's always both. It's never just building confidence. It's never just taking action. It's always both, which is why like my tagline is simple strategies and self-belief, because I believe that's what's required for you to show up persistently and consistently and get success. And so I always work with my clients on those two things, simple strategy and self-belief. Heather says, so do we keep showing up and it will come to us? The answer will come. Good question. So it depends. Yes, continuing to show up is required, because persistency and consistency are the marks of every single successful entrepreneur. Yes, yes, yes. You have to keep showing up. That is required. And Heather, you probably know enough to know where you're going today, this week, this month, right? You probably know enough to know what the thing is that you need to do today to show up and get clients. But it might be that your fear is going, yeah, but I don't know what's going to happen next month, or what if, or like, I don't know, what if this doesn't work out, right? And like, that is where you take the information from today to inform the hows of tomorrow. I just made that up. But like, a lot of times, again, it comes back to like, I feel like I need this whole plan. I need to be in control. I need to know exactly how this is going to go. And we might feel like that's the way it is in our 9-to-5, and so we feel some level of comfort there, or what way it was when we were in our 9-to-5s if we're out. But that was never true. That's false. That is total falsity, right? Like, if you've ever been through a layoff or a buyout or some of these things that I know a lot of you have been through, it's not true. But we've been trained to think that being an employee is safe, and we've got to start thinking like entrepreneurs and getting comfortable with some level of calculated risk. right? That's why people get coaches. That's why people hire me as their mentor, because they know they're getting support from someone who's done it, right? Maybe that's why people hire you, because they know they're going to shorten their timeline and speed up their results and like stop playing a guessing game, stop throwing stuff against the wall, investing in themselves to get 100-fold return on every dollar they spend. All that stuff is to help you move through the fear, the self-doubt, the perfectionism keeps showing up anyway because someone is going to check on you if you don't. And it's really easy to hide out if you don't have that support, like myself included. That is why I'm always fully supported, right? I'll just call myself out here because you guys know I'm in the middle of working on this book, and Julie and I, my amazing assistant slash like right-hand woman slash everything, we're texting about this very thing this morning, right? Because I still have resistance come up about this thing, and I've talked to you guys about this before because it matters so much. Right? I still get overwhelmed. I still get perfectionistic about it because it's going to take my life, my business, my visibility to a whole different level. I was talking to somebody yesterday about the Wall Street Journal, right? So like my point is, as I said, you can still have fear, you can still have self-doubt, you can still have perfectionism, and you can still build your own six-figure business anyway. So you got to be willing to show up. You got to be willing to ask for the support. You got to be willing to put those things in place and have people to clarify those things for you. So you're not up in your own head forever and ever and ever on the couch, hiding out. Easy says, I'm scared that at the end of the day, I won't actually be successful enough to quit my 9-to-5. Yeah, I think that's a great fear to recognize, right? And like, where is that coming from? And sometimes we have a fear of failure. Sometimes we have a fear of success, right? I'm afraid I'm going to be too busy for my family. I'm afraid I'm going to be too busy to enjoy my life if I get busier, right? So like, I think that's a great thing to recognize. And I think it's also like, but do I really want to quit my job? Right? And if the answer is yes, then you can keep moving forward anyway. And you can keep looking at what's the next thing that I need? What's the next thing that, my intuition says that I need to get there? Yay, Kalila says, so true. I'm so glad. Yeah, Meryl, so you've been building this business, right? And I think you need to think about the story that you're telling yourself about it, right? I think you need to think about the story because remember, you're cementing that in your mind every time that you talk about it. So Deneen says, I think I'm hiding out. Thanks for putting words to what I'm doing. Worth the time today for me right there. Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, I think a lot of us do, and we do it in different ways, right? So what can you do to make sure that you're going to show up? Because that's where you're going to get traction. And what questions do you all have about this for me? I am happy to answer as many as you have for me. What questions do you have? I want to talk about my top tips for dealing with fear while you ask your questions, okay? Because you probably are super aware of how your fear is showing up. So maybe you're asking yourself, what if I don't make the money back? What if this turns out to be a mistake? What if people criticize me? What if I, whatever. But like, I want to talk about my top tips for dealing with any kind of fear. Because I think a lot of times in our lives, we have people who tell us that we're not being realistic because that's their story. And we listen to them because we're afraid that we're not being realistic, right? We're afraid that we're not being practical. And so when someone says that to us, it like hits at our hearts and we go, oh gosh, like, oh, I'm not. So I'm going to look for all the reasons that that's not true. These are all forms of fear. And so here are my top tips. The first step, which you've already done, so check one off the list. Your to-do list is awesome, is acknowledge it. You're here, you're watching this, you've acknowledged it. You're like, yep, that's me. And that awareness allows you to deal with it head on. Secondly, I want you to spend time being proactive and not reactive. Not like, I'm scared, right? Because that's what fear does. It contracts us. But proactive, like, in your body, that looks like standing up straight, right? We've got like wellness coaches here, like Pilates enthusiasts, yoga enthusiasts, all those things. We know how important like aligning the spine, all of that is. Breathing, right? Breathing through the fear because fear is just excitement without breath, which is such a beautiful, beautiful quote from the book that I love, The Big Leap. Fear is just excitement without breath. So if you breathe, you can transmute that fear into excitement. It's the same mechanism in the brain. What does being proactive look like? It could look like starting in the morning and spending time choosing what you replace the fear with, who you choose to be and what you choose to believe, so that you happen to your day and your time and your life, not the other way around. Everybody else coming in at you, checking your email first thing, checking Facebook first thing. That's what everybody's been up to overnight, right? Then all of a sudden your brain is inundated and that's what it's focused on. All right. Next, I want you to look for ways to recognize what's really going on. Are you keeping yourself safe with the fear? Like, does it give you an excuse if you don't succeed? You know, I know that for me, one of the procrastination and perfectionism were keeping me safe from having to own that maybe something I did wasn't as good as it could have been, right? So I used to wait till the last minute on things, saying, oh, I work better under pressure. And yeah, while I can crank something out under pressure, the other part of that was well, I can always say that I didn't work my hardest on it because I put it off till the last minute. That was the script that I had going on in my mind. So look for ways to recognize what's really going on, because if you don't have the results that you want, you're probably telling yourself something that's not helpful right now. And so that's actually what you're seeing rather than the thing that you want to be seeing. Okay? So is fear masquerading as practicality? Determine what's really going on in your life so that you can choose to proactively dismantle it and the power it holds over your life and your dreams that you really, really want at this conscious level, as opposed to the fear which comes out of our subconscious, right? So this is definitely something that I work on with my clients. If I can help you with it, please reach out. I'd love to talk about what that might look like for you. A lot of times we struggle with making decisions because we're afraid we're going to choose wrong. Does anybody feel that way? Is this something you want me to talk about? Let me know. This is another something I could spend a little bit of time talking about. Meryl says, so do I just keep saying I'm making progress each day and my business is growing? Yeah, so I would say which feels better? Which feels better to you to say? I'm not making any money, this isn't working, I'm scared this isn't working, or I'm making progress each and every day. I'm showing up each and every day. My business is growing each and every day. I'm building traction. Here are all the reasons that's true. Like, which one feels better to you to say? Like, that's an honest question. I would ask that first. Let's talk a little bit about self-doubt, okay? Self-doubt is something that as high achievers, we all struggle with, okay? Self-doubt, every single entrepreneur, every single high achiever has struggled with self-doubt. And so I really want to normalize that again, it doesn't mean you can't have a six-figure business. It doesn't mean you can't have a business as successful as you want. If you have self-doubt, that's not a reason that you can't be successful. What it does mean is that it's something to deal with, right? And I don't mean to be super obvious about that, but I think that the big point I want to make here is that it's totally normal, and that at least 95%, depending on who you ask, of our brain is of subconscious, unconscious, and that is where these pieces come from. That is where fear and self-doubt come from. So if you're spending a lot of time beating yourself up because you have fear and because you have self-doubt, that's just a cycle that's going to continue to perpetuate. That's not going to help you get where you want to be, because you're spending time in the 5% of your conscious mind beating up the 95% of your conscious mind. If you're addressing it in that way, which one's going to continue to win? Which one's going to continue to perpetuate? So just recognize that, yep, I've got that. You know what? Other people have that too. Christine's got that. Look at all these other people who are commenting and they've got that. Doesn't mean I can't have a successful business. It's okay. Take off some of the charge around it. Does that make sense? So for decisions, Jenny, thank you for sharing that you wanted to hear about that. And I'll let you guys know I've got 7 minutes. And then I've got an afternoon of coaching calls. So we've got 7 minutes left. And I want to answer any questions that you guys have before I jump off. In the meantime, I wanted to share with you about making decisions. If you worry, if you struggle with worry, here's a great quote for you. Worry is a state of mind based upon fear. Worry is a form of sustained fear caused by indecision, right? A lot of times we're worried about making the wrong decision, but a lot of times the fear, the worry, the indecision is actually causing the fear. Flip that on its head. And therefore, it is a state of mind which can be controlled. okay? An unsettled mind, meaning an undecided mind, is helpless. Indecision makes an unsettled mind. There is only one known antidote. It is it's a habit of prompt and firm decision. We do not worry over conditions once we have reached a decision to follow a definite line of action. That's from Napoleon Hill. Think and Grow Rich, which is a really long book, but that's a great quote for you. So, you can train your brain to make quick decisions, because the thing about it is, it's better to make a quick decision that's wrong than it is to muddle over and stay in a state of indecision for so long that you never make one and you never get any traction. You can recover from a decision that maybe turned out to be not the smartest thing in the future, but that got you more insight, right? Maybe you did this one thing, maybe you did a Facebook Live and it wasn't perfect, but then it's going to get easier to make the Facebook Live the next time, right? Because you did it, even if it wasn't perfect. And people have forgotten about it because it's the internet and things move really fast, right? So you're the only one still thinking about it. So, okay. When I want to talk about this as it related to my business building journey. When I signed up for and invested in my first coaching program, I was totally freaked out at first because I never spent money other than like a book here or there on myself or my business since school. And and it was a lot of money, right? It was thousands and thousands of dollars and I never spent anything. And here I was like splashing out this money that, to be honest and transparent with you, I wasn't sure how I was going to make back. But I realized that the decision was the thing that was actually tantamount to moving toward my goals. The decision of deciding to hire somebody who I believed could help me to move my business forward. That was the thing that was going to move me forward, rather than was it the right thing, was it not the right thing. It was showing up for the fact that I was listening to my intuition in a big way and going, no, I need help. I'm going to get it. That's how I'm going to show up. Okay. It was accompanied by the option to upgrade to this VIP option and do a day-long intensive at the Ritz London. Maybe you've heard me talk about this, maybe you haven't, at the end of the program. And I decided that I was going to make this happen for myself. Again, I spent more money. I didn't know how I was going to make it back. 3 months later, I found myself attending that very intensive in a room used by Churchill, de Gaulle, and Eisenhower during World War II, and staying in and having high tea at the Ritz London, which was something I couldn't have even fathomed even a couple of years before. But growing up, loving all things English, loving, luxury and this stuff, I could only have dreamed of, even though that wasn't the way that I grew up at all. It's just kind of champagne taste on a beer budget, right? That was my thing. But I told myself for a long time it wasn't possible until I made a decision that it was. Because within 3 months, of this 3-month program, my income had tripled very, very quickly. My husband and I bought our dream home. We decided we were done waiting. And after we went to London together, on a trip that I paid for with my business, we went on to 2 weeks in Italy, which I've been dreaming of since high school. So my point is, all of that happened in 3 months. My point is, that was how I showed up. It was how I showed up. I'm going to make this happen. I had this very definite goal. I am going to the Ritz London, baby. I'm doing this thing, right? And that's how I showed up. And I took the advice and I did the work and I took the action and I worked on my mindset as well. So I share that with you because that's what's possible for you too when you make a decision. When you decide, fear is done controlling me, I'm going to go with my gut and make a decision. So I'd love to hear from you. What can you decide today that's large or small in order to move you out of that crippling worry, that crippling fear, that crippling self-doubt and indecision? Because where do you want to be 3 months from now, 6 months from now, right? Halfway into 2018. Where do you want to be? And what small decision can you make today that maybe you've been ruminating over for a while? What small decision can you make today to clear your mind? Yep, I've made a decision. I'm done worrying about it. I'm done ruminating about it. Done is better than perfect, right? So if you find yourself in indecision, do you have somebody you can turn to as well? Do you have somebody that you can share with to bounce ideas off of? Do you have somebody who's been there? Do you have an accountability partner? Do you have somebody you trust who has what you want? Are you taking advice from somebody you trade places with? Meryl says she's working on her mindset in this group. We're working with Christine. so that she can surround herself with people further along in mentor figures. I love that, Meryl. And have you noticed a difference? Like, have you noticed a difference in the way that you think? Heather says, I recently settled on my prices and offerings. If it feels wrong later, I know I can change it. Yeah, that's so, so, so beautiful, right? That feels awesome, right? You can always change it. You're not getting a tattoo, right? Which even those can be removed, but you're not getting a tattoo like right here on your face that everyone's going to see and like would be really awkward to have removed. You're deciding one thing that maybe you're going to stick with for 90 days, let's say, right? And you're going to take the information that you get from that and use it to tweak. So, ladies, we're wrapping it up. If you have any other questions, I'm going to stay on for another minute, but I do want to invite you to think about whether a clear plan and someone to hold you accountable is something that you feel like could help you to reach your goals. Because if so, I've got some spots coming up in December for half-day intensives with me, and this is something that there's been a lot of interest around lately, so I just wanted to talk about it because it's a really awesome way for you to get a clear plan and deal with some of this fear, this self-doubt, then this perfectionism in one fell swoop, and do like 3 months worth of work in one morning, right? 3 months of work in a morning on your business to get yourself a clear plan, and also to get my help and customized coaching around how to break through this fear and this self-doubt. So, if this is something that you're interested in, send me a PM. Send me a PM or comment below. I can post the link to book a call with me to talk about it, just a free call for us to chat about whether that's right for you or not. Because I call my intensive the Clarity, Confidence, and Clients Intensive. Because it's about all three of those things, and you will be amazed at how much you walk away with. Your brain will hurt afterward because you did so much work, but also in the best way because you know you moved yourself forward with like 3 months worth of work in a morning. So just want to extend an invitation for you if you're feeling like inspired by what we talked about, if you feel like this is something you'd like to explore more, kind of combining the clear plan of action, combining like strategy with overcoming this fear and the self-doubt so that you can finally move forward or so that you can get traction again, please reach out because you are why I do what I do, and I'd love, love, love to help you and talk to you about whether this is right for you or not. And anybody who's talked to me before knows I'm no pressure. It's a conversation, and it's probably not like if you've ever talked to a coach before. It's probably not like any other coach you've ever talked to before. The way I do sales is super, super different, and I just want you to know that I'm here for you. Like, that's the truth, and you're why I do what I do. You're why I'm here today, taking my lunch break between a full day of coaching calls with my clients to come and talk to you guys about this thing that I just felt super, super inspired to share. About fear and self-doubt and perfectionism. It's coming up everywhere right now, and I want you to know you can build your own six-figure business anyway, in spite of it. And if I can be of some help and support along the journey, I love to provide you with that like one-on-one insight, you know, to hold your hand and kick your butt a little bit too, because I know what you're capable of, and it'd be my honor to help support you in that. So please feel free to reach out via PM, or I'll post a link to connect with me as well. If you want to just go ahead and book a call to chat. I love you all so much. Heather says, I did a half day in September. I learned so much. I'm so glad, Heather. And you implemented like a rock star, right? Because you knew exactly what to do and you just went and did it. And I know that's the thing that I always felt in my business when I was feeling frustrated and stuck. If someone would just tell me what to do, I would do it already. You know, and so I needed that clear plan, but I also needed the insight of where I was keeping myself stuck because I was inside the jar and I couldn't see the label. And I needed that insight as well. And Jamie says, yes, Christine is amazing. Thank you so much, Jamie. You are amazing as well. I love, 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 love all of you. I'll talk to you soon. Have a wonderful day.